Hello, this is Alan welcoming you to the 2094th edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper. Dateline, 27th of April, 2017. The readers this week are Jeanne, Sonia, myself, and Ian is on the controls. The editor was Lynda, and the production and distribution team is Keith, Phillip, Joan and Jeanne. You might know by now that our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Pree and Fernand Bouillon and Harry Breuer, and is performed by Jean-Jacques Perry. The local news headlines this week include Council unveils new chief executive, Jolly Betty, aged 109, always had a huge zest for life, drivers jailed for fatal crash while on phone, and library's new name honours a councillor. The sunrise and sunset times you like to know. And for tomorrow, 28th of April, sunrise is at 05:41, that's 20 to 6-ish, and 2016 for sunset, that's 8:15. Do get in touch with us to share your own news and special announcements. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any comments about the Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 020-8805-6578. She is, of course, your listener's representative and will be pleased to help you. Now, Sonia will read the first item of local news.
Council unveils new chief exec. The Council's new Supremo has finally been appointed on an annual salary believed to be in the region of £185,000. And Ian Davis's first major task as Enfield Council's new chief executive will be overseeing the arrangements for the general election in June as the borough's returning officer. Mr Davis replaces Rob Leake, who is retiring after being chief executive since 2003. His was an internal appointment, with Mr Davis selected from what Council Leader Doug Taylor described as an impressive number of highly qualified applicants. He has worked for Enfield for the past 10 years, being promoted from Assistant Director to Director of Environmental Protection and Regulation, having joined from Hammersmith and Fulham Council. His duties include managing resources and the local authority's 3,500-strong workforce to deliver set objectives, as well as continuously reviewing council services while implementing policies. Mr Taylor, the leader of the Labour-controlled council, said, "Ian Davis is truly passionate about public service and Enfield, and has a strong record of successfully working to build a better Enfield. As Enfield Council's Director of Regeneration and Environment, Ian has been at the centre of delivering an extensive range of regeneration projects across the borough in recent years. I am delighted that his appointment as Chief Executive will enable him to continue to drive the regeneration of our borough, boost its economy, help to improve the lives of residents, and support the most vulnerable." Councillor Terry Neville, leader of the opposition Conservative group, shared Mr Taylor's praise. "I wholly endorse all that Doug Taylor has said about his qualities," he said. Mr Neville chaired the panel that appointed Mr Davis to his first role at Enfield Council in
Jolly
2007.
Betty, at 109, always had a huge zest for life. A jolly soul, who died at the grand old age of 109, lived for so long because she had a strong zest for life, her family say. Lily Betty Winter was born to a Victorian family in Orpington Road, Enfield, in 1908, and lived through 2 World Wars, 3 London Olympics, and the reign of 5 monarchs. She had not been unwell for 6 years, but contracted an infection that caused her death 2 days after her family and friends celebrated her milestone birthday earlier this month. While she never married or had children, she kept herself young by visiting her boyfriends, men who played golf near Springview Care Home, Crescent Road, where she moved to at the age of 103. Her nephew, Richard Brewster, said she preserved her independence to see what she called her boyfriends. She used to like going down there to chat to the chaps who played golf. They all thought she was something of a hoot. She was a very jolly soul. I remember her playing games at Christmas, and she always did very well in musical hats. She never smoked or drank. What an amazing recipe for a long life. Betty, who had a twin brother, Howard, attended finishing school in Switzerland. She left home at the start of the Second World War, where she helped orphaned and evacuee children at Hollyshaw House near Tunbridge Wells in Kent. She proudly kept her Women's Voluntary Service Beret and WVS Service Medal awarded to her for service. Her family moved to Marshall's Drives and Albans to avoid the bombs. After the war, she took on the role of doting aunt by looking after her young nieces and nephews. When her father died in 1953, she moved back to Enfield with her mother in the Ridgeway. But when she was 52, her mother died and she moved to Lyndhurst Gardens, Enfield, where she lived for 52 years. She attended many organ concerts, but reluctantly had to abandon her piano because there was not enough space in her new house. But she played for children at Christ Church, Chaseside, Enfield, where she was an active parishioner. At the age of 100, she was still visiting members of the congregation who were sick and called them old folk. She only stopped travelling abroad at the age of 98, and only because she had lost her passport. Her nephew added, in Lyndhurst Gardens, she was known as the lady who always wore a hat and looked after other people by offering to do their shopping for them. When she moved to Springview, she continued to maintain her character and positive spirit whilst never missing an opportunity to have some fun. He added, she enjoyed her food, but ate simply and not in excess, although she always insisted on 2 teaspoons of sugar in her tea. She leaves behind 5 nephews, 1 niece, and her 15 great-nephews and nieces, and great-great-nieces.
A driver is jailed for a fatal crash while on mobile phone. A woman has been jailed for causing the death by dangerous driving of an Enfield pensioner after she ploughed into 2 stationary vehicles while sending a Facebook message. Sales rep Wendy Thompson, aged 53, was driving eastbound on the A406 North Circular Road and using her mobile phone when she collided with the car of 84-year-old Rodney Lewis at the junction with Coney Hatch Lane. Mr. Lewis from Enfield, who had stopped to help a fellow motorist who had broken down, died at the scene from head injuries and a broken neck after Thompson's VW Passat car collided with both his Hyundai Getz and the broken-down vehicle, which was a Fiesta. Mr. Lewis's wife, aged 77, suffered a broken hip and pelvis at the crash, which happened at about 10:40 a.m. on February the 3rd last year. Thompson, from Lincolnshire, pleaded guilty to causing death by dangerous driving and to causing serious injury by dangerous driving. She was sentenced on Monday at the Old Bailey to 2 years and 3 months imprisonment and was disqualified from driving for 10 years. A police spokesman said that following the tragedy, Thompson admitted that she had been sending a Facebook message and trying to plug her phone into a charger when the collision happened. She was also injured, but not seriously. Mr. Lewis's wife has made a recovery.
Library's new name honours councillor. A library was renamed in honour of a long-time councillor leader who died last year. Palmer's Green Library, is now known as Jeff Rodin House, in tribute to the councillor who dedicated 24 years of his life to Enfield Council and the people of the borough. His widow, Marion, officiated the ceremony, unveiling a plaque praising her husband's great distinction as an activist. Marion said, "To me, Jeff was a much-loved and now missed husband, father and grandfather. But I know that to his colleagues and many other people in Enfield, he is remembered for being a conviction politician who worked tirelessly to transform the lives of so many people. He loved Enfield, and I am incredibly proud to be officially naming this building Jeff Rodin House, which is an enduring memorial to an irreplaceable man." Politicians, friends and family also attended to pay a tribute to the grandfather. Mr. Rodin was the leader of Enfield Council between 1994 and 1999 and a long-serving ward councillor, representing Bowes Ward for 24 years from 1986 to 2010. He was leader of the Labour group between 1989 and 1994, and then again from 2005 to 2010. He was born in 1950 and spent his childhood in Hackney and then Harrow. He studied politics and sociology at the University of Birmingham between 1968 and 1971, and while there became involved in a variety of political activities such as the anti-apartheid movement and opposition to the Vietnam War. Councillor Doug Taylor said, "Jeff Rodin was a highly influential figure who was dedicated to improving the lives of local people and creating a better Enfield. He will be fondly remembered by officers and councillors who worked with him during his time in office and by many people in the borough." Jeff became a trustee of Enfield Citizens Advice Bureau, ECAB, in 2008 and was elected as chair of the trustees in 2010. As well as his involvement with ECAB, Jeff was a volunteer driver, trustee and treasurer of Enfield Community Transport, a local charity, and a volunteer driver for another local charity, BVAD, Borough of Enfield Voluntary Association for the Disabled. He also did a great deal of charity work for the national charity Tax Help for Older People and Enfield Over 50s Forum. Committed to many worthwhile causes, he was chair of Enfield Citizen Advice Bureau and treasurer of Enfield Community Transport during retirement, and volunteered for Tax Help for Older People and Enfield Over 50s Forum. There is an archive photo of Jeff giving a speech at the Civic Centre. There is also a very smiley photo of his wife and a further photo of her with Doug Taylor and one other
A
dignitary.
late college principal's dedication to helping people with autism has been immortalised with the announcement of a new academic award in his honour. Paul Head, who died of cancer in 2014, initiated the College of Haringey, Enfield and North East London's, that's CONEL, Connell, recent collaboration with Ambitious College, run by the charity he supported, Ambitious About Autism. Situated at the new Pears campus at Connell's Tottenham Green Centre, the venture gives students from Ambitious College the chance to access vocational learning opportunities alongside their peers. Current Connell principal Andy Forbes said, "We are the main chance for many young people, and for this particular group of young people, this is a real chance not just for them to get an education that will help them to be the person they want to be in their lives, but to prepare to be productive members of society." Officially opened on March the 30th, ahead of World Autism Day on April the 2nd, The intention is to prepare learners with abilities necessary to be productive community members. Yolanda Lasota, Chief Executive of Ambitious About Autism, said, "Only 1 in 4 young people with autism progress beyond school to any form of education or training." Minister of State for Vulnerable Children and Families, Edward Thompson MP, opened the new campus. He said, "It's a real pleasure to come and open Ambitious College today and meet the young learners, their parents and staff. The college is doing amazing work in terms of providing learners with the vital support they need to access learning and employment opportunities, as well as preparing them for adulthood." Trevor Pears from the Pears Foundation, Tottenham MP David Lammy, Hornsey and Wood Green MP Catherine West, and Deputy London Mayor Joanna McCartney, who is also Assembly Member for Enfield and Haringey, also attended. For additional information about Ambitious, click www.ambitiouscollege.org.
Shoppers who were out and about recently had the opportunity to learn more about the importance of St George's Day. Celebrated on Sunday 23rd of April, which is of course also Shakespeare's birthday, Enfield Council's Cabinet Member for Community Arts and Culture, Yasmin Brett, promoted the message of diversity and tolerance. Historically, the symbol of gallantry and courage, Councillor Brett was keen to let St George's roots be known. Councillor Brett said, "He was a migrant from a vibrant multicultural background, persecuted for his religious beliefs. St George has inspired myths and legends. For the people of Enfield, whose coat of arms coincidentally is a mythical dragon-type beast, we can take great pride in our own diversity, tolerance and ethics, and we are fiercely proud of our nation." Enfield is well known for its multicultural community, and was something that Councillor Brett wanted locals to recall and acknowledge. With Enfield Mayor Bernadette Lepage also in attendance, they spread the meaning of St George to the public in Church Street, Enfield Town, in the form of leaflets. Mrs Lepage also collected money for her charity of choice, Enfield Sounds Great. This is a year-long musical festival committed to supporting musical causes in the community. The origins of England's patron saint may be the stuff of myth and legend, but it is thought he was a Roman soldier of Greek birth in the guard of Roman Emperor Diocletian. He was put to death for refusing to renounce his Christian faith.
Political parties were caught on the hop in Enfield last week with the shock announcement of a general election in June. David Burrows, MP for Enfield Southgate, said that other than Prime Minister Theresa May's husband and close advisers, everyone else was taken by surprise by the calling of the election. The Tory MP said he would be standing again, despite one of his children taking A-levels and another GCSEs. Mr Burrows said, "I was as surprised as everyone. I am standing again because I love representing my local area, and I think I can continue to be a strong local voice." Mrs May pledged several times after taking office last year not to call an election before the next one due in 2020. But she wants a strong mandate in Parliament going into what are likely to be tough negotiations over Britain's exit from the European Union. Kate Osamore, Labour MP for Edmonton, said the move was an extraordinary U-turn by Mrs May, but she was looking forward to the prospect of campaigning against the Tories. Miss Osamore's Labour seat looks safe. She won the 2015 general election with a majority of 15,419. Meanwhile, the gloves are off in Enfield North, with Joan Ryan and Nick Dubois battling yet again for that seat. Mr Dubois was the MP for Enfield North before Labour's Joan Ryan regained the seat in the 2015 election with a majority of 1,086. Mr Dubois has announced that, formalities permitting, he will stand again. He said, "If my adoption as candidate for the Conservative Party is confirmed, it will be an immense privilege to stand again for election, and, if successful, then champion Enfield by providing a strong voice in Parliament. By supporting me, residents would be helping Theresa May remain Prime Minister, rather than supporting the Labour candidate, which would put Jeremy Corbyn in power." The Liberal Democrats said they were the real opposition to a hard Brexit and promised to defend Liberal values and make their voice heard in Enfield Southgate, Enfield North and Edmonton. A spokesman said, "Nicholas da Costa will be our candidate in Enfield North. David Schmitz will be our candidate in Edmonton. You can say we're in the final stages of finding an outstanding candidate for Enfield Southgate. We're planning to fight hard Brexit and prevent the huge risks that presents to the British economy. Nominations must be in
all
by
superheroes
May
on a mission. The annual fundraising night walk in aid of Enfield's Nightingale Cancer Support Centre has been announced. Dress up as your favourite superhero and join the 15-kilometre night hike starting and finishing outside Enfield Civic Centre in Silver Street from 8 p.m. on Friday, May the 12th. More than 300 residents took part in last year's event, and the Nightingale charity, based in Lancaster Road, is hoping to beat that figure. Walkers must be over the age of 12, and there is a £15 entry fee. To book a place online, visit www.nightingalesupport, all one word, .org.uk/pages/fundraising/nighthike.shtml or call 020 8366
Theresa May declared her tour of a radar manufacturer as a good example of a British company in need of a strong government after Brexit when she visited the firm last week. The Prime Minister paid a visit to Kelvin Hughes in Mollison Avenue, Enfield Lock, as she hit the campaign trail following her snap general election announcement. She was taken on a tour of the factory, which makes and supplies navigation, surveillance and security radar systems. She said, "We want to provide not just a good deal over Brexit, but good deals around the world to enable companies like this to grow, provide jobs and bring prosperity." When asked how pollution levels would be tackled across the borough of Enfield if the Tories were re-elected, Mrs May said that although nitrogen dioxide levels had fallen by 20% from 2010 to 2015 across London, she was aware that more needed to be done.
An 80-year-old who has been a valued member of staff at a fast food restaurant chain for more than 30 years was treated to a surprise birthday party. Maria Reveglia works at McDonald's Enfield Town branch in Church Street and was delighted when she turned up for her regular shift on March the 22nd to find the staff room full of colleagues and family members. She was showered with gifts, flowers and a birthday cake, and also celebrated her birthday with a special McDonald's lunch. Maria started working as a full-time employee at the branch in 1985, keeping the dining area clean and clearing away customers' trays. She has no plans to retire and now works a half day every Wednesday. Maria, who lives in Parsonage Lane, Enfield, especially enjoys the social interaction and is very fond of her colleagues. I adore the staff, she said, and I love going to work every week and talking to customers who regularly visit. Maria has one son, Vince, and 4 daughters, Michelina, Gina, Anna and Rita. She enjoys spending time with her grandchildren, and her hobbies include gardening. Maria's husband, Domenico, a mechanical engineer at Fryer Brothers in Great Cambridge Road, retired when he was 65. But Maria has continued working because it keeps her active. We always ask her when she will be retiring, said Maria's daughter Rita, 53, but she is in good health and her job keeps her young. Rita says it's not the money that keeps her mother working, but the customers. She is so well known at the branch that they know her by her first name, added Rita. Tony Fagg, who is the Enfield Town McDonald's franchisee, said Maria was incredibly valued by staff. She's fantastic with people, and I admire her constant enthusiasm to do the job that she loves, he said. We are all very proud to work alongside her, as she's just such an inspiring member of the team. The accompanying photo is of Maria with some of her presents, including a beautiful bunch of flowers.
Detectives have arrested a 3rd suspect following the shooting in Enfield, which left a 20-year-old man in a critical condition. The victim was found with a gunshot wound in a car in the Travelodge Hotel car park in Lincoln Road, close to the A10 Great Cambridge Road, at about 9:45 p.m. on Wednesday, April the 5th. He remains in a critical condition. A 21-year-old is the latest to have been arrested on suspicion of murder. He has been released pending further inquiries. 2 20-year-olds previously arrested on suspicion of murder have been given conditional bail. The Met Police's Trident Area Command, which deals with gang crime, initially investigated the shooting. It has now been passed to detectives from the force's Homicide and Major Crime Command. Detectives have renewed appeals for any witnesses to come forward. They can contact the incident room on 020 8345 3865 or via Twitter at MEtCC. To give information anonymously, call Crime Stoppers on 0800 555.
And another murder investigation has been launched after a man was stabbed. Damien McLaughlin, aged 42 of Cheshunt, died in Exeter Road, Enfield, at around 1:31 p.m. on Saturday, April the 22nd. Police, the London Air Ambulance and paramedics arrived, but he was pronounced dead 45 minutes later. A 17-year-old teenager has been charged with murder, possessing an offensive weapon, as well as cannabis, but cannot be named for legal reasons. An 18-year-old was arrested after being found near the scene at Alma Road, having also been stabbed. A 21-year-old who was arrested has been released from police custody. The murder investigation is being led by Detective Chief Inspector Larry Smith of the Homicide and Major Crime Command. DCI Smith said, "We have spoken with a number of witnesses, but I am certain that there are other people who will have seen something of note but are yet to contact police. I'm also aware that people may have recorded footage on mobile phones. I'm urging any witnesses or anyone with material that may assist the investigation to make contact with the police. Anyone with such information is asked to call the incident room on 020 8345 3985 or via 101. Alternatively, they can contact Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111.
A 9-year-old has reached the grand finals of an anagram competition, seeing off 50,000 rivals along the way. Victor Redondo, who goes to Highfield Primary School in Highfield Road, Winchmore Hill, secured a place at the finals with his impressive word skills when he won an online competition against youngsters from other schools. Victor, who lives in Winchmore Hill, played the competitive word game Bananagrams, which involves creating words from a limited number of letters. The game can be played by all ages and was adapted for Key Stage 2 pupils with a spelling list suitable for 7 to 11-year-olds. Victor was selected as his school's champion to play the online contest after beating fellow pupils. He will be just one of 12 finalists in the competition, taking place at the prestigious Society for Magicians, the Magic Circle, in central London, on Saturday. He will be quizzed in a round of questions and will be competing for the top prize of a trophy and £1,000 for the winner's school. Victor said he was surprised to have beaten so many opponents. "I can't believe I made it to the finals," he said. "The school competition was tough, but the online round was even harder. My whole family enjoys playing Bananagrams together. It's great fun." David Wilson, Highfield's deputy head teacher, said that the spelling challenge was a great success with pupils continuing to play in friendly matches against each other. "We're all absolutely thrilled that Victor made it to the grand final," he said. "The whole school is exceptionally proud of his achievement and wish him the very best of success.
A cat hotel is
at
set
the
to
final."
come to East Barnet after planning permission was granted by the council, despite protests from neighbours. The Longford Luxury Cat Hotel, which currently has 12 hotels across the UK, is to be built in the garden at 64 Hazelmere Avenue, East Barnet, with the majority of comments objecting to the proposal. The proposal was approved on the condition that a maximum of 14 cats would be allowed to stay at one time, with members of the public not permitted to the hotel after 5:30 p.m. on weekdays and Saturdays, or at all on Sundays and public holidays. The proposal was submitted along with letters of support from neighbours living outside of Barnet, as well as an environmental survey of the Welwyn Garden City Hotel. The construction is expected
An
to take
Enfield
10
police officer
days.
has been charged with sexual assault. PC Aries Michaelides, aged 49, was arrested on November the 23rd last year, the same day the offence is alleged to have taken place at a residential address in Enfield while he was on duty. He has been accused of one count of sexual assault against a female aged over 16 years by touching, and has been bailed to appear at Westminster Magistrates Court on Tuesday, May 16th. In the meantime, he has been placed on
A
restricted
grieving
duties.
mum has spoken of her heartbreak following the death of her eldest son. Football mad Jordan Andidoru was just 19 when he died of heart failure in his sleep at his home in Linden Gardens, Enfield, in December. The family is struggling to cope with the devastating loss of their son and big brother to 3 siblings, as well as to fund a new headstone for his grave in Enfield Crematorium and Cemetery in Great Cambridge Road. Mum Mariah says each day is a struggle. "It's such a huge loss," she said. "To go to bed at 19 and never to wake up again, it's just not right. He was fit and healthy. He loved football. He played for Enfield Town and was a massive QPR fan. Everyone wore football shirts at his funeral, and there was a standing ovation at the end. We're all struggling. I have 3 more children, my middle son, who is 12, my daughter 9, and my youngest, who is only 2. It's heartbreaking for all of us." Mariah visits Jordan's grave twice a day and has found it vandalised on several occasions. She has not been back to work since the tragedy, and she and her husband, who works for the Royal Mail, are struggling to meet the cost of a fitting memorial for their son. A Just Giving page has been set up by Jordan's friend Shane Tant, who is walking 150 miles in a bid to raise £3,000 for a proper headstone. Jordan, who worked in the kitchens at the Coach and Horses pub in Cheshunt, had just been accepted on a course to teach English to children in Vietnam. Mariah added, he was really excited. He wanted to help teach children, and he'd just found out he'd got onto a course to do that in Vietnam. He was a bit of a joker, very kind-hearted and loving. He worked for peanuts, but he was so generous with his siblings. He loved them so much. He'd just taken them Christmas shopping a couple of days before he died. Shane said Jordan was always a keen learner with a big heart. He helped me through some very tough times outside of football and always had time for his friends. I also coached Jordan as a player. He had a big passion for football and was an incredibly talented player in goal and on the pitch. I miss him loads and will never forget him.
The boss of the trust which runs Chase Farm Hospital received a knighthood from Prince William last week. David Sloman, Chief Executive of the Royal Free London NHS Foundation Trust, was knighted for his services to the NHS in the New Year's honours. He received his gong from the Duke of Cambridge at Buckingham Palace on Wednesday last week. The 56-year-old was appointed Chief Executive in 2009 and helped the Royal Free become a foundation trust 3 years later. In 2014, Chase Farm in the Ridgeway, Enfield, was taken over by the Trust, along with Barnet Hospital. Last year, the Trust received a good rating from healthcare watchdog, the Care Quality Commission. It's a huge honour to have been recognised in this way, said Mr. Sloman. It has been my privilege to work for the NHS alongside some of the most dedicated and committed staff who are delivering the very best care to patients. In a career spanning 32 years working in various NHS roles, Mr. Sloman has been Chief Executive of Haringey Teaching Primary Care Trust, Whittington Hospital and the Royal Free Hampstead NHS Trust. His first job was in 1986 as Deputy Administrator at the London Chest Hospital in Bethnal Green, East London. Mr. Sloman's recent projects have included bringing together communities, hospitals and social care across North London to improve patient services. He is also committed to mentoring and coaching aspiring leaders across the Trust. I am proud that at the Royal Free we continue to be at the forefront of everything which makes the NHS the best health service in the world, he added. And there is a photo of David in his morning suit showing his gong.
Schoolgirl Mia Mustafa took the plunge to raise money for the British Red Cross and help people in need. The 12-year-old raised hundreds of pounds by getting friends and family to sponsor her to swim half a mile, that's 32 lengths of the pool at the David Lloyd Sports Centre in Carterhatch Lane, Enfield. Swimming is not her natural sport, according to Mum Sarah, but Mia, a pupil at Southgate School in Sussex Way, wanted to test herself as part of the fundraising challenge. Fueled by the swim, Mia is now planning a cake sale, which will be taking part in a dance contest along with her peers at Platinum Performing Arts, all in aid of the Red Cross. Mum of three Sarah from East Barnet said, "I'm really proud of Maria. She heard about fundraising for the charity through Platinum, who are taking part in the dance Make Your Move event in June, when they will be raising money for the Red Cross. The dance school is like her second home. She's always there. She does musical theatre, street dance, ballet and tap, and loves it. Then she just decided she wanted to raise as much as she could, and there's no stopping her. The cake sale is scheduled to take place at Millfield Arts Centre in Silver Street, Edmonton, on May the 6th and 7th. The enterprising schoolgirl has already contacted several cake shops and is trying to get
donations. A man is
donations.
fighting for his life in hospital after an explosion at a home in Stroud Green. Police were first called to Stapleton Hall Road at about 11:50 a.m. on Wednesday, the 20th of April, to reports of a man armed with a weapon. The suspect, a man in his mid-50s, is understood to have been involved in a housing dispute, and bailiffs were believed to be at the address along with his family. Officers say an explosion then took place at the home, causing serious burns to the suspect, who was later taken to hospital and remains in a life-threatening condition. 3 police officers also sustained injuries during the incident and have been taken to hospital for treatment. Their injuries are not thought to be life-threatening. 10 fire engines and some 72 firefighters from London Fire Brigade were also called to the scene, as were London Ambulance Service paramedics. Crews brought a fire caused by the blast under control by 3:30 p.m. The address was evacuated as a precaution, but no neighbouring properties were affected. All of the basement of the terraced house was damaged by the fire. Part of the ground floor and part of the first floor of the property, as well as a shed in the rear garden, were also damaged in the blaze. Emergency services are now conducting an investigation into how and why the incident took place. No arrests have been made. Haringey Borough Commander, Chief Superintendent Helen Millichap, said, "This is a serious incident where several of my officers have been injured, as well as a man at the property who remains in a critical condition. We are still investigating what happened and exactly how the explosion occurred. The officers who responded to this call faced a dangerous situation, and I am proud of the courage they showed." The investigation has also been referred to the Directorate of Professional Standards and the Independent Police Complaints Commission, IPCC, as a matter of procedure. The accompanying picture shows 5 fire
This is a
officers
reunion bid
fighting
for a
the
side
fire.
who played 70 years ago. A fading black and white photo of one of the boyhood soccer teams Les Vernon played for 70 years ago has set him on a quest to try and track down all those featured in it. The 82-year-old former Ponders End schoolboy, who went on to sign professional terms for Arsenal, is hoping to reunite as many of the Enfield junior side who played together in 1947-48 as he can. "I was just 11 at the time, and the team was the representative side for the borough at that age group with players selected from schools across Enfield," said Les. "I played for my school team, Alma Road Juniors, and me and another member of the team, Donald Grant, were selected to play for Enfield." Les, who now lives in Letchworth in Hertfordshire, later went on to play at schoolboy county level, representing Middlesex, before signing amateur terms and playing for the 1951-52 season for the old Enfield FC, then in the Athenian League. It was while he was away doing his national service that he was spotted by an Arsenal scout playing for the army. He went for trials, and the Gunners' manager at the time, Tom Whittaker, offered him a contract. Les spent 3 seasons at Highbury on the fringes of the first team before a serious knee injury ended his professional career. I would love to find some of my old teammates pictured in the photograph of the Enfield Juniors 11, although I suppose there may not be too many of them still alive, he said. I'm in contact with John Holmes, who was our goalie and now lives in Gloucestershire. He also played with me in the Middlesex County team. He'd posted something on Facebook about how Spurs legendary goalie Ted Ditchburn had watched a charity game which the county side played at Enfield Southbury Road ground, and how he had congratulated John on playing so well. I immediately remembered I'd played in that same game and got in touch with him, and we keep in touch. Les, whose late cousin John Payne had an illustrious career with Enfield FC and was an England amateur international, said it would be wonderful to meet up with pals he hasn't seen for 7 decades and just reminisce about old times. Anyone who knows the whereabouts of those in the photo can contact Les by ringing the Advertiser news desk. And there's a photo of the team from the 1947-48 season showing Les in the front row.
A talent show is looking for entertainers to razzle and dazzle Enfield. Loosely based on a format familiar from television, the organiser of Britain's Got People Doing Stuff is appealing for singers, musicians, magicians, novelty acts and comedians. The project is the brainchild of comic David Boast, who said, "I'd really like to see many different types of acts perform, and the event is open to all levels of ability." The venue will be a local pub, although one is yet to be decided. Organisers hope to include a panel of judges made up of top names such as Nathan Cassidy, who has already agreed to be involved. For further information or details how to enter, you can contact David Boast, that's B-O-A-S-T, on Britain's Got People Doing Stuff @gmail.com.
Detectives investigating the fatal stabbing of a man in Brent Cross have released CCTV images of potential witnesses they would like to speak to. On February the 17th, police were called to Heathfield Gardens, Brent Cross, following a fight. Officers found 21-year-old Joseph Alopo, who was from Colindale, with a stab wound, and he was pronounced dead in hospital. Detectives are attempting to identify 4 people who left Brent Cross Underground Station and were in the Heathfield Gardens area at the time of the stabbing. 2 men were arrested near to the scene on suspicion of a fray. One was bailed to a date in April and the second released. A 20-year-old man who was arrested on suspicion of violent disorder on February the 21st, was bailed to a date in April. A 21-year-old man was charged with murder on February the 23rd. The CCTV images released show a young woman with long dark hair, dressed in a dark brown jacket and brown trousers, carrying a large black handbag and pulling a small black suitcase. A young dark-haired man wearing a long grey jacket and black trousers and with a black backpack. A middle-aged couple, the man wearing an open-necked pink shirt and dark suit, carrying a rolled newspaper, and a blonde woman wearing a dark dress.
An Enfield table tennis athlete added another silver medal to her successful year at the Belgium Junior and Cadet Open. Denise Payet's podium finish was the latest in a line of successful competitions for the player, which included the Junior National Cup and making her senior England debut. Payet played alongside USA's Amy Wang and Croatia's Marta Vikelic in the junior girls team event, and the 15-year-old picked up victories in the group stage and in the semi-final against Croatia. However, the team lost 3-2 to India in the final. There was less joy for Payet in the singles, where she lost 2 of her 3 group matches. The teenager and partner Charlotte Bardsley were also
Haringey
beaten in the
Migrant
first
Support
round of the
Centre
doubles.
is raising awareness of immigration issues by promoting a theatrical performance put on by a Ukrainian-British group of actors. Molodii Teatr, their play called Penetrating Europe, or Migrants Have Talent, is a documentary with a talent show satire. Real-life tales of the experiences of undocumented migration are used in the show. Performances are on Friday, May 12th at 7:30 p.m. and Saturday, 13th of May at 4 p.m. at St Cuthbert's Church in Kensington. If you want tickets, you can phone 0754 40 78332 and the tickets will cost you
Director of
£8.
Rugby, Mark McCall, hailed Saracens' defence after watching his side book their place in the European Champions Cup final for the third time in 4 years by securing a 26-10 victory over Munster in Dublin. The reigning champions came under sustained pressure at times in front of a hugely pro-Munster crowd, but they refused to buckle, and the Irish province only had a single penalty to show for their efforts until they grabbed a last-gasp consolation try. Instead, it was Sarries who were able to keep the scoreboard ticking over, with Mako Vunipola and Chris Wiles both scoring tries to add to 16 points from the boot of Owen Farrell to ensure that they claimed a memorable triumph. "I thought our defence was extraordinary," McCall said. "Munster set on us early and kept on attacking, but only came away with 3 points, which was a great result for us. It was a brilliant occasion. Munster's supporters are as good as any in the world, and I thought that in the face of that, the fight and togetherness we had to show during the game was brilliant." Sarries will now take on French giants Clermont-Auvergne in the final at Murrayfield in Edinburgh.
A 1-1 draw at home
May
to
the
Leiston,
13th.
coupled with Wingate and Finchley's defeat against Dulwich, ensured that Town secured a fourth-placed finish in the final table, bringing an end of 2 years of last-gasp heartache when they just fell short in their bid to reach the playoffs. Town will face a tough task against a Dulwich side whom they have never beaten in 8 previous attempts, but manager Bradley Quinton is relishing the prospect of taking on the best-supported team in the division in front of their own fans. "I'm happy to be playing Dulwich at their own ground," he said. "They have got a good pitch and our players thrive in front of that sort of crowd. We've got momentum in our favour. To get 22 points out of a possible 24 to seal our place in the playoffs is a fantastic achievement, and the boys really deserved it. Our run towards the end of the season was tremendous, and we would have been challenging for the title if we'd had that sort of form throughout." The match against Leiston proved to be a tense affair, with Leiston desperately searching for the win which would have seen them climb above Town and book their place in the playoffs. It was the visitors who struck first just before the interval, with Gareth Heath rising high to head home across, and with Wingate drawing at Dulwich at that stage, Town's season was in danger of ending in disappointment at half-time. But the hosts, playing in front of their record home league crowd of 812, improved after the interval, although the news that Dulwich had taken control against Wingate meant that their place in the playoffs was no longer in any real doubt. This didn't stop Town from continuing to attack with purpose, though, and they got their reward, crushing Leiston's playoff hopes at the same time, with 5 minutes remaining when Samir Bimoutin's cross was emphatically volleyed home by Bobby Devine. However, the match was to end in disappointment for Devine, as he was carried off with a knee injury.
Cockfosters
soon after.
have announced the record-breaking manager Dean Barker has decided to leave the club at the end of the season. Barker arrived at Cockfosters in the summer of 2015 taking charge of a side who had only just avoided relegation from the Spartan Premier Division the previous season. And Barker has helped to transform the fortunes of the club, securing a top-half finish in his first year in charge before guiding Cockfosters to the best season in their history this time round, securing a top-3 finish in Step 5 of non-league football for the first time, and also picking up a club record points total at this level. A club statement said, "After 2 record-breaking seasons, Dean has decided he has taken the club as far as he can and will be leaving at the end of the season. We would like to thank Dean and Gary Simmons, the assistant manager, and all his staff for the great work they have done since taking over the club when we had just avoided relegation." Meanwhile, Cockfosters eased to a 3-0 victory at Broxbourne Borough, with Ben Andreas grabbing a second-half hat-trick. The next match sees Barker's reign come to an end. It's a home match against newly crowned champions London Colney, and the departing manager is looking forward to the occasion. "It's a nice way for me to finish, and I'm sure I'll be a bit emotional," Barker said. "We've smashed every club record going in the last 2 years, and I'm proud to be leaving as the club's record goal scorer and their most successful manager." We've reached the end of our programme for this week. Thanks for listening. So from the team of Sonia, Jenny and Alan, and Ian on the controls, it's goodbye.
Goodbye.
Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet. Put the memory stick into the packet and return it to us as soon as possible in readiness for the next edition. Don't forget, you can call Diane de Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with Enfield Talking newspaper on 020 8805 6578. And coming up next is the latest news and information for the Greater London area from InfoSound. The Enfield Talking newspaper will be with you again in 1 week's time.